The cosmos is all that is, or ever was, or ever will be.
It's time to get going again.
Let's start with Miles Davis, musician, painter, composer, once said, "You can't do what you did." Why are we rebooting Cosmos?
It's been 34 years.
And it's completely different. Steve Soder and I have written 13 new hours. So while it builds on some of the elements in the original series and certainly doffs its hat to Carl in many different ways, it's a completely new series. And why? Because we're coming out of a period of intense antagonism to science. And we all thought that it was time to make the case for science and make it in such a way that people would be on the edge of their seat the whole time. So that's why.
So we meet today in front of Comic-Con, 100,000 people down there on the floor, all of whom are deeply steeped in their own individual stories that they love, lore. Can there be a lore that is based on the real universe as it really is instead of the alternate universes that are merchandised down there?
I think those stories are the most compelling. I think the emotional reaction to Cosmos is going to be, in a way, the most powerful. Because people think that nature isn't good enough, that real life isn't good enough. I think nature writes the best stories of all. And so, with all due respect to all of these stories, many of which I have enjoyed, they're but a pale shadow of real life in the cosmos.
You know how to another way to measure that is almost every story out there of the superheroes and the like start at some place that nature told them. Okay, so Superman comes from an alien planet. All right, he didn't just come out of the ether. He came out from an alien planet. And you just go look at the sources of powers, and so whenever science can take you somewhere, the creativity of this community looks for where that is and then tries to go beyond that with the fantasy and the fiction. So my read of this is that they are eager and hungry for as much science as they can possibly get, because they want to get as much science right as they can and then take their creativity to the next level.
Outside of this community, is there a pent-up demand for science, for real explanations of the real universe?
I think that, I'm sorry.
No,
please,
just go.
Absolutely. That's the whole thing.
That's all I'm going to say, absolutely.
Is that science, science is taught so poorly. It's such a grueling and horrendous experience, from the most part, in school, that our curiosity, which is completely natural, is just beat out of us. And we feel like the way we're trying to tell these stories is an opening, an aperture to the excitement.
Yeah, one of the great crimes of science education is first not knowing how to make it exciting. Another one is believe that you're making it exciting by, quote, dumbing it down. And the audience knows if you're dumbing it down, and you want to speak to them with respect and dignity, and to have some appreciation for their capacity to wonder and for the intelligence that we know everyone out there has, not just here but anywhere. And often programming goes to some lowest common denominator, and that's what everybody gets. And I'm thinking, what kind of ambition is that? What kind of vision statement is that for producers, for a nation, for particularly now where we've been trailing for a while, but the effect of that is finally catching up with us. You realize, of course, that the engines of tomorrow's economy will flow through and in the innovations in science and technology. And everyone here knows that. All right, this is Comic-Con, for goodness sake. They understand. The great thing about this is out there you can have witches and fantasies and cherubs and angels and all these things, but at the end of the day, they know the difference. This audience can tell the difference between what is fantasy and what is real, and good science programming can equip people to make that distinction for themselves and then take them to new places they never dreamt.
A last really quick question. 34 years, television is now on the internet. Is there an afterlife? Is this the beginning of a franchise? Will this perpetuate out? Do you have plans for making products that are not specifically on television?
You know, the original, to Carl and Ann's credit, it found its own way to the success over 34 years. And now, after all this time, is worldwide, continues to be watched all over the world. So we have a high bar. Having said that, the entire resources of Fox and News Corp and 2 global sponsors with some heft, one announced, Samsung, promises that Cosmos, SpaceTime Odyssey, will live on every platform for quite a long time to come, and hopefully meet, perhaps exceed the high bar that the original set.
Listen, if it lives as long as the original, which is still very much alive, then it's going to outlast all of us.